Hi, Mike here. You're watching Scout Restoration Yukon. In this video, I tear down and inspect the brake master cylinder from my 1966 Scout 800. The bore was so pitted that I could not repair it by honing. Then I shipped it to Brake Materials and Parts in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where they rebuilt it and installed a stainless steel sleeve in the bore. Then they shipped it back to me. The first thing I did was bench bleed or purge the master cylinder. Then I installed it in the Scout and connected and tightened all the brake lines. Finally, I gravity bled the front brakes. This is not a how-to video. It's a how I do video. I hope you like it. Let's get to work. If you want to help, please subscribe to Scout Restoration Yukon. It's free. Mike Morrow, over and out. This is the original Wagner-Lougheed master cylinder. Note that the rubber boot has been replaced. Brake fluid is hydroscopic. In my opinion, it should be replaced once a year. Just look at all the rust in here. Before pulling out the piston, I must remove the ridge of corrosion. I'm cleaning it up with emery cloth, then blowing it out with compressed air, and then pouring in a little bit of brake fluid. Now I am gently working the piston back and forth until it comes out easily. Now, using compressed air, I'm blowing the cup out of the bore. I'm using a magnet to remove the spring and check valve. This hole is for an optional brake light switch. I will soak the master cylinder overnight in evaporust. This will remove a lot of the rust and crud from inside the master cylinder. Mike here, Yukon Scout Restoration. In front of me, there are two master cylinders for Scouts. They fit Scout 80s, Scout 800. This one here, the shiny one, is reproduction. Probably made in China or somewhere like that. Now this is the original master cylinder from my 1966 800. It's a Wagner-Lougheed. It's stamped right into the casting. Made in USA. So I took this one apart and started to hone it and immediately realized that it was not repairable by hone. So I did a little bit of research, and apparently the cast iron in these master cylinders is very low grade, poor quality, and it gets pitted really easy, and the only thing you can do is sleeve it with stainless steel. So I shipped it out to the USA and had it rebuilt and had a stainless steel sleeve put in it. So it should be good forever. And I'm just going to keep the old cap. It's not very pretty, but it's the original cap. Attention, fellow Scout enthusiasts. Thanks for watching. I hope that you're getting useful insights from my videos. If I can earn 1,000 subscribers, I will be able to create Scout videos for a long time. Please like and subscribe so that we can continue this journey for years to come. I will show all the details. Over and out. So before installing the master cylinder on the Scout, I need to fill it with brake fluid and purge it. In order to purge it, I've got a rubber hose on a fitting. Let's run this fitting in to the only port on this master cylinder. It's got a little clip on it. It's specially for bleeding master cylinders. So turn that upside down like that. Put that on there. I'm going to turn this around so we can see it from the other side. Now, I'm just going to pour the brake fluid in, regular .3 brake fluid. So I'll fill that up about half full for now. So I'm going to take this big screwdriver and cycle this back and forth until all the air bubbles are out. I still have air bubbles coming by themselves. I'm just going to slowly Very slowly push the piston in. You see the air bubbles coming. Just keep steady pressure on it. And just wait till the bubbles stop. Now, you go back out again. Put a little bit more brake fluid in there. I'll push that piston back in again. More air bubbles. The initial little push, the little burp, getting air. We'll just keep doing that for a minute. Pull it back slowly. So now I'm standing in the engine bay and I'm ready to install the master cylinder. So let's get to work. Here's the rebuilt master cylinder with a new stainless steel sleeve. And I already installed the rod and the rubber, the push rod that connects to the brake pedal. But I think this brake line here is going to be in my way. So I'm going to remove this brake line. I'm unscrewing the brake line down here on the block on the fender. Let's see if I can slide this in. There's an adjustment here which I didn't touch. So this would be the original adjustment. We'll just have to see what happens after. So there you go. See, that fit in quite nicely. It's held on by 2 3/8 National Fine bolts. And I've put a liberal amount of never seize on these bolts. So I'm just tightening these bolts up with the 9/16 ratcheting wrench. Just make sure they're good and tight. That's plenty tight. With a 1/4-inch wrench, I tightened the bleeder screw on the passenger side. And here on the driver's side, the bleeder screw is open and I've attached a clear plastic line which goes into a clean glass beaker. What I intend to do is to bleed by gravity. With the brake lines installed, I can now tighten up this splitter block here. I didn't tighten it before, so I'm just holding the nut on the other side and tightening this with a ratchet. There, that's good and tight. Now I can start the brake line. This is the line that goes to the master cylinder that feeds everything. I won't be able to completely tighten that one until it's hooked up. It's 3/8. I'm going to have to bend this line. Now I'm tightening the line that goes to the driver's side front brake. That's tight. This is the line that goes to the passenger side front brake. That. And then this is the line here that goes to the back brake. So now they're all tight except for this one. This is where the line goes on to the driver's side front brake hose. Tighten that. The flare nut wrench on there. That's plenty tight. This is the line that goes to the passenger side front brake hose. The flare nut wrench on there. That's plenty tight. So I'm going to have to bend this line quite a bit to get it lined up. Bending it. That's getting close. Because the master cylinder's already got brake fluid in it, I could have dumped it out, but I didn't. I have to take this fitting out that I've put in there to plug it. I'm going to make probably a heck of a mess. So I put a lot of paper towel down there to protect my paint. Now I just stick this in there right away. Okay, that's tightened with the flare nut wrench. Do the final tightening at the bottom here. Have a look in the reservoir. There's definitely brake fluid in there. I'll just top it up. Just give it a little wipe around here. Put the lid back on. Now I'm putting the pin in through the clevis here. Needs a little tap. Put lots of never sees on that pin. And that will need a cotter pin, but not right now. This is the line coming from the bleeder screw on the driver's side wheel cylinder. I'm just going to slowly push the brake pedal, see what happens. Here it comes, some brake fluid. Lots of air bubbles coming out. I'll let it keep going. It's bleeding by gravity now, I think. You can see all the air bubbles coming out the line. That's why I like to use these transparent lines. We can actually watch and see what's going on. So as long as we got air bubbles coming through there, we'll just let it keep going. And after that, I'll close the line. Topping up the master cylinder before it runs out of brake fluid. That's like most of the air is out of there for now. Yeah, so now I'm going to disconnect this hose and tighten the bleeder screw. Now I've opened the passenger side bleeder screw and put the hose on there. And then back over here, pushing the pedal slowly. And that's got a much longer distance to go. It's a much longer brake line. And it goes up and over the engine compartment. So it'll take quite a while, quite a bit of brake fluid to fill everything up, I think. Here comes the brake fluid now. You can see it on the camera monitor thing, and it should go by gravity on its own now that it's filled up all the airlocks and everything. Have to top up the master cylinder again, of course. Yeah, it's just going by gravity now. I'm going to give it a couple more pumps. I still see some air coming out of there. So check the reservoir, top it up again. And I still see some air coming very slowly by gravity. I'll just give it a couple more pumps. One pump anyway. Let's see what that does. Plenty of air coming out of there. Basically it's just going by gravity. I'll just let it keep going. So you can see the air moving down the line by gravity. So just leave that for a minute. Let it do that. It's nothing critical now. Now you can see, look, there's a whole bunch of new air bubbles coming out the line, right? So we'll just let that do its thing for a while. We'll just go check the reservoir again. Finally, I noticed that this brake line was dangerously close and had the potential, if somebody pushed on it or put their hand on it while they're climbing around under the hood, they would push it down and it would end up rubbing metal on metal. So I took a piece of rubber hose and split it with a knife and zip tied it on there as a precaution. When I woke up this morning, a little voice in my head was telling me, change that brake line. And the voice is right. It's not cool. So I will make a new brake line and reroute it through the same hole that the cross shaft for the clutch goes. So let's get to work. So what I did was I used a piece of rubber hose to mimic the route that the new brake line would take, and that gives me the length of brake line I need. Then I cut a piece of brake line. I already double flared one end, so I'll put the flare knot on that end, like that. I'll put the second flare knot on backwards. Now I'm going to double flare the other end. So the brake line is protruding from the flaring block, the thickness of the lip on the adapter. So now to make a double flare, I put this in here, tighten it down, tighten it right down, take it out. There's the first half of my double flare. Now I just do the regular flared thing on it to make it double. Tighten that up pretty tight. So there's my second double flare, the flare knot. Now I have a piece of brake line with two flare nuts ready to go. Let's go install it. The first thing I'm going to do is undo this brake line. Get this plastic plug. Now I'm removing the old brake line. Okay, that's the old brake line off. And I've already started bending the new brake line. So I'm just going to start it and just run the flare knot all the way in, finger tight. That's just about how I want it. So I could just tighten that up. It's a brand new fitting. There isn't room for a flare knot wrench. Okay, so now I'm going to continue bending this brake line. I think it looks pretty good there. We'll just take this plug out, start it. It's starting by fingers, which is a very good sign. Now, I just think I got to take a little bit of pressure off that line. See how that goes. Tighten that up. Good and tight. Looks like we're in business. Here's the new brake line. You can see the whole thing. It's going through the hole underneath, and it's a lot safer. It's a lot better place to route the brake line. Of course, I'll have to bleed the brakes again, but that's no big deal. So that's another job done. So that was just a preliminary brake bleed. It'll all get bled again later. The back brake line is plugged on the end. It's not connected to anything because I'm going to be removing the rear axle and rebuilding that later on. So that's all we need to do for now for the brakes. And move on to something else. Over and out. In conclusion, I'm glad that I did not use the Made in China master cylinder. The original with the stainless steel sleeve will last a long time. In my next video, clutch assembly, I make one pressure plate out of 2. I will show all the details. I hope you like it. If you want to help, please subscribe to Scout Restoration Yukon. It's free. Mike Morrow, over and out.